Most people think Bitcoin is hard to understand because it's technical or new. But beneath the technicalities, Bitcoin challenges something deeper, our understanding of ourselves. In a calm moment of reflection, one might ask themselves, why do so many struggle to trust or grasp this invention? Perhaps it's because truly understanding Bitcoin requires introspection. Bitcoin holds up a mirror. Our fears, our habits, our ego, these are all reflected in our reaction to a new profound decentralized currency. In exploring Bitcoin, we are also prompted to explore our own mind and motives. This video is an invitation to step back from the hype and noise and quietly consider how our psychology and philosophy shape our understanding of Bitcoin. After all, most people don't understand Bitcoin because they don't understand themselves. Let's journey inward and see how self-knowledge and understanding Bitcoin are intertwined. Humans have always feared chaos and uncertainty. Bitcoin, with its notorious price volatility and lack of central authority, can feel like chaos incarnated in a digital form. No government or bank controls Bitcoin. It is decentralized, maintained by a network of ordinary users and miners rather than any single institution. For those used to the idea of someone in charge, this decentralization can be deeply unsettling. It's like stepping into a world with no king or president of money, exciting to some but terrifying to others. The price swings of Bitcoin soaring one month over 50% and plunging the next another 50%. This only adds to the sense of unpredictability. It's as if the ground is always shifting. Many people subconsciously crave order and stability, so when faced with Bitcoin's open wildness, they recoil. The chaos triggers a primal anxiety. What if everything I rely on can change? What if there's no one to make it stop? Yet chaos is not always a bad thing. The great philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote that one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. In other words, from uncertainty and disorder can come creativity, growth, and new possibilities. Bitcoin's chaos, its volatility and radical newness may be unsettling, but it is also what allows something innovative to emerge. A completely predictable, centrally controlled system could never disrupt our thinking the way Bitcoin does. The great Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher king, observed nearly 2,000 years ago that external things cannot truly disturb us without consent. He once stated, "Things have no hold on the soul. They stand there unmoving, outside it. Disturbance comes only from within, from our own perceptions." In essence, you have power over your mind, not outside events. The wild swings of Bitcoin are outside events. Our fear and panic in response to them can come from within us. If we can master our perceptions, approach Bitcoin's turbulence with a calm, stoic mindset, the chaos slowly loses its fangs. Consider a storm at sea. The winds and waves are Bitcoin's price swings and uncertainty. We cannot calm the storm, but we can learn to steady our ship, our mind. The storm challenges us to become better sailors. Similarly, Bitcoin's apparent chaos challenges us to cultivate inner calm and understanding. Instead of dismissing Bitcoin as too chaotic, we might then ask, how do I handle uncertainty and change? Our answer says as much about us as it does about Bitcoin itself. Another barrier to understanding Bitcoin is the ego. This is the part of us that clings to what we think we know. Bitcoin, frankly, it just humbles you. It asks you to reconsider basic assumptions. What is money? Where does value come from? Whom do I trust? For many, it's easier to reject Bitcoin than to rethink these questions. The psychiatrist Carl Jung noted that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own souls. We often go to great lengths to preserve our comfortable illusions. Money is a deeply emotional and psychological matter. We attach feelings of security, power, and identity to it. To question the nature of money, which Bitcoin forces us to do, can feel like questioning ourselves. It's truly unsettling. People sometimes dismiss Bitcoin with statements like it's not real or it's just a scam, not only out of skepticism, but because accepting it might shatter some internal illusion about how the world works. It's reminiscent of a well-known idea, often attributed to Nietzsche. People don't want to hear the truth because it could destroy their cherished illusions. Bitcoin, just by its very existence, says money can be something different from what you were taught. This can truly shake people's ego. It's much more comfortable to scoff and stick with the familiar than to admit we may have misunderstood something as fundamental as money itself. There are also the influence of the tribe, the comfort of the majority opinion. Many people form their beliefs based on what these around them believe. If everyone says Bitcoin is risky, a scam, or just a shitcoin, it takes a strong individual sense of self to disagree with these statements. Nietzsche captured this challenge well. He once stated, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will be lonely often, and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself." Embracing Bitcoin, especially in its current infancy stages like now, often meant standing apart from the crowd, risking ridicule or isolation. That requires a solid sense of self and humility to admit that the crowd could be wrong. Our ego hates feeling foolish or out of step with others. So instead of learning, many dismiss Bitcoin to protect their pride. It's a defense. If I label it stupid or evil, I don't have to examine it further. But as Nietzsche suggests, there is a reward for resisting the pull of the tribe, the privilege of owning yourself, of forming your own judgments. Bitcoin, in this sense, invites us to think for ourselves, a hard task, but a profoundly liberating one. Modern society doesn't teach us to appreciate scarcity or to practice patience. We live in a culture of instant gratification and seemingly infinite supply. Need money? Central banks can just print more. Need goods? Order with one click from Amazon and it arrives tomorrow. In this world comes Bitcoin. With a fixed limit of 21 million coins ever to be created, this concept of absolute scarcity is hard to grasp because it's so different from the elastic, endless money supply we know. It forces a question. If something is truly limited, does that make it more valuable? With traditional fiat currencies, we rarely think about how new dollars or euros are continuously added to the system. But Bitcoin's design puts scarcity front and center. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins, a built-in constraint that demands we see value, not as an entitlement, but as something finite and earned. In a way, it kind of reminds us that life and time itself are finite and precious. Just as our hours and years are limited, Bitcoin's limited supply creates the idea of digital gold. This can encourage a mindset of saving and long-term thinking that many of us aren't used to. Because Bitcoin is scarce and designed to become harder to obtain over time, it implicitly rewards delayed gratification. Unlike a get-rich-quick scheme, the ethos of Bitcoin often encourages holding it for long term, weathering the ups and downs in exchange for potential future benefits. This runs directly against our impulse for quick rewards. Psychologically, waiting for uncertain future gain is uncomfortable. We prefer the bird in hand to two in the bush. Many fail to understand Bitcoin. They approach it with a short-term mindset. They get greedy during bull markets and fearful during bear markets, essentially letting immediate emotions drive decisions. But Bitcoin tests our ability to delayed gratification. It's a bit like the famous marshmallow experiment in psychology. Can you resist eating one treat now so you can have two later? Some can, many cannot. Those who cannot often conclude that Bitcoin doesn't make sense, is too risky, or a scam, when in truth it's their time horizon and mindset that might be too short. Patience is a hard lesson. The Stoic Marcus Aurelius gently reminded himself that doing what's right sometimes requires patience. And in the context of Bitcoin, doing what's sensible, like researching, holding through volatility, learning the technology, definitely requires patience. When understood properly, Bitcoin invites us to adopt a lower time preference. This allows us to value the future more and be less impulsive in the present. It teaches the virtue of saving in a world obsessed with spending. This lesson can feel arduous. It's far easier to dismiss the whole thing than change one's habit. But if we step back, we might see that our struggle with understanding Bitcoin's value is in part a struggle with our own self-discipline. Can we value future gains over immediate comfort? Can we recognize that something's worth might not be evident in every moment, yet still real? These are questions of character as much as of finance. In the end, Bitcoin is like a mirror. If we look at it honestly, we see our own reflection staring back. Fear of chaos, it shows in our reaction to Bitcoin's volatility. Ego and illusion, they flare up when we dismiss new ideas to protect our pride. Impatience, revealed in the urge for quick profit rather than long-term understanding. Avoidance of responsibility, evident in our discomfort with Bitcoin's self-custodial ethos as a whole. Most people don't understand Bitcoin because it forces these uncomfortable questions. It's easier to say this is too complicated, this is too risky, this is a scam, this is strange, than to examine what those feelings reveal about ourselves. But if we have the courage to do so, there is much to gain. As we have seen through the wisdom of Jung, Aurelius, Nietzsche, and others I described in this video, the journey to understanding anything profound, whether a philosophy or a revolutionary currency such as Bitcoin, inevitably runs through the landscape of the self. Bitcoin, stripped of any hype, is ultimately a lesson in truth, introspection, and personal responsibility. It invites us to learn how a decentralized system can run without central control, but also to learn how we might operate without leaning on external authority. It demonstrates the power of scarcity and patience in creating value while urging us to confront our own time preferences and impatience. It offers the possibility of greater individual freedom while reminding us, sometimes even harshly, that freedom and responsibility are two sides of the same coin. So if you find Bitcoin confusing or unnerving, you might step back and gently ask, what is this bringing up in me? Are you uneasy with uncertainty? Do you trust the collective more than yourself? Do you seek quick comfort over long-term reward? There are no right or wrong answers to this, only personal insights. By exploring those questions, you may find that the process of understanding Bitcoin leads to a deeper understanding of your own values and fears. And even if you decide that Bitcoin ultimately isn't for you, you might come away knowing yourself better, which is a reward in itself. Most people don't understand Bitcoin because they don't understand themselves. The good news is this can change. By turning inward, facing our chaos, tempering our ego, cultivating patience, and taking responsibility, we not only demystify a protocol of digital money, we also inch closer to mastering the currency of our inner wealth. In doing so, we learn that the journey to understand Bitcoin is, in many ways, a journey to understand your own nature. And perhaps that is the most valuable discovery of all.